Well, I spent almost 2 hours at the museum last night, and every time I turned around, I saw another animal. And I had it all written down out of catalogs in my memory, but when I hit the museum, I started seeing this and this and this, and you're going to forget this, and I did forget a couple things. But anyway, the first animal that appears in Cambridge literature is their canning jars. We do not have an example. They're relatively plain crystal canning jar with a wooden handle and a metal bail, sort of a pail type thing. And the lid, which is shown in the catalog on the side of the jar, has an eagle on it. Nobody seems to have found one of these yet, but I'm sure there's a canning jar collector out there that's got one. But that would be the first animal that appeared in Cambridge literature. This is the 1903 catalog. It's a great little catalog. Most of the molds in here came from the National Glass Combine, who owned Cambridge at the beginning. And so there is always the possibility that these items were made at other plants. A number of the items in the very front of the catalog were made at Greentown, Indiana, Albany, Indiana, and Findlay, Ohio, which were also owned by the National Glass Combine. The first actual animals we have here tonight are the fish tankard, which has a fish handle. This is part of the near cut line. It shows the fish in 3 different poses and has starfish and seaweed and all kinds of coral, all kinds of cool stuff on it. There is a matching tumbler. This was not a full line. Another pitcher in the same shape is the peacock, and it has the peacock in 3 poses. One sort of in flight, and I don't think peacocks fly, do they? They do fly. Okay, well, this one's flying. And then there is one standing and one walking. And they made it in the pitcher and the tumbler also, but there's no animal to the handle. The second thing that shows up in near-cut literature, and probably the rarest, is a variant of the daisy archfoot line, but it has a different flower than a daisy, and it has dolphin handles on it. This is shown in the catalog in crystal and black. We've never seen the black one yet. This is a very, very rare piece of glass. The next thing of this near-cut period, but not what we would consider near-cut, is an old national mold that was brought to Cambridge, and it's called the Red Riding Hood Punch Bowl. Has Red Riding Hood with her basket, Grandma's house, and here is Red Riding Hood being surprised by the wolf in Granny's bed, and here is the wolf hunting Red Riding Hood in the forest. It comes in crystal, comes in opal. I brought cups in opal and turquoise, and a very, very rare cornflower blue, a transparent blue. Next are the candy containers, and they are all pictured on one Cambridge near-cut catalog page. This is the squirrel on a stump, and the stump has oak leaves and acorns on it. And if you get to looking at the later Cambridge squirrel, you see the extreme similarity. The head is bigger on this, and the tail is a little more detailed, but that's where the idea came from. Candy containers were originally sold with metal closures, and they were to hold candy, of course, for kids. This is the elephant, and he is dressed up in a tailcoat with stippling all over the coat. This is blown into a mold. It's hollow. This is an incredibly rare Easter bunny with eggs. This is one of the rarest of the candy containers. The other one that's equally rare we don't have tonight is an Irishman riding a pig. And has anybody seen one? No, nobody's seen one. It would be a find. You would be talking $5,000 or more. This is the gun. Somebody asked, how do you tell the Cambridge gun? There are 2 guns. This one's easy to tell. It has an Indian on this side, and it has a prancing horse on this side of the handle. I don't know of any of the other guns. A lot of companies made gun candy containers, but this is the only one with the horse on it. And the rocking horse candy container, which was reproduced by Guernsey Glass in colors. And this is supposed to have a slide closure instead of a threaded closure on it that just slides on it. Most of the candy containers did have a closure on them. Cambridge called them candy bottles. They were sold to candy companies, and they filled it with pellet candy and sold them for a nickel, a dime maybe, on a good day. The next period of Cambridge animals is a very short period, from 22 maybe into 25, 26, the opaques. This is the owl in ivory. This is not supposed to exist. There are 5 or 6 of them known. They were stolen by 3 brothers. This was supposed to have brown enamel fired on it, and they sent them over the fence before they were finished decorating them. And this is the monkey lamp. The owl comes in ivory, ebony, or a very, very dark purple, and brown enamel. The monkey, however, comes in jade glass. Most of them are ivory. This is an ivory with green enamel. It comes in ivory with a turquoise jade enamel and brown enamel. There is also an azurite one known, and there is one known that is helio and azurite and primrose stirred together. They did experimentation on these animals for a number of years. One of the first Cambridge shows, my father and I talked to the brothers that made these, and they told us this wild story. And of course, my dad and I, we said, there's no chance. And they told us that they made them first in crystal and they let too much light through. Well, a crystal monkey has showed up. So there could be a crystal owl too. Then they said the second color to come out was ebony. So they made an ebony one. There are 2 ebony owls known, and they didn't let any light through. So they didn't do that. The next color to come out was azurite, and sure enough, the azurite monkey has showed up. And they arrived at ivory, and ivory took the enamel well and let some light through, and that's where they stopped with playing. And they set on the ivory to be covered with enamel to make the right light. And so their whole story turned out to be true. It's pretty cool. You can see the azurite and the helio azurite primrose slag one in the museum. They belong to the plant superintendent. The eyes are taxidermy eyes. If you get an animal like this and you don't have eyes, you can go to a taxidermy man. They still make them. They're glass. And these are button eyes that were put in dolls. About the only other thing we know of is the ram's head bowl in opaques, which I'll talk about later. And then the peacock. And did I forget to bring a dragon? I forgot to bring a dragon. Well, anyway, there are peacock and dragon etchings, and they show up on azurite with black enamel, green enamel, and gold encrusted. The peacock actually shows up on mostly azurite, but the dragon shows up on peach blow, light emerald, amber, primrose, jade, azurite. About the only opaque color it hasn't showed up is ivory with the dragon. There's ebony known with red encrusted dragons. They're quite rare. There are many examples of them in the museum if you want to see them. The late 20s was the biggest period for Cambridge to go into what we call figurals, which are animals. And that was the biggest period of when this whole animal craze happened for Cambridge. This is the frog vase, it has much more wart detail on it than the frog pitcher, which is the same looking thing with a handle on it, except there's much less detail on the pitchers. The pitchers come primarily in ebony and forest green. This is a rare example in Rubina and has blue lips. We're still not sure exactly when the turkey came out. Obviously, by the colors it comes in, it had to have been made in the 20s. My feeling is that it's earlier than that, but probably during the near-cut period they were making crystal ones. There are many companies that made turkeys, but the easiest way to tell the Cambridge was you can get your whole fist in it, and the L.E. Smith ones won't take your whole fist. The Cambridge ones have grassy detail on the bottom instead of a checkerboard, like the United States glass and Fenton ones. And there are two little flowers back here. One of them looks like a philodendron or a pepper leaf, and this other is a very, very confused little flower that looks more like coral than anything. But the U.S. and Fenton ones do not have this detail on them. They come in, the most common color is this one, which is bluebell. They come in light emerald, amber, crystal. The crystal one is the only one that comes decorated. It comes with Charlton roses on it. Let's see what else. Royal blue, willow blue, peach blow, and there are frosted ones. Some of the frosted ones are real. Some of them, somebody has done it on the aftermarket. Some of the frosting, you can tell the difference in them. The swans came out in the 20s also. There are 3 styles of swans. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about swans because we've had quite a few swan programs. But there are, the sizes of swans are 3-inch, 4.5, 6.5, 8.5. This is a 10.5, and 12.5 or 13. This is a style 1 swan, generally signed, unless they had to polish and grind it to make it even on the bottom. Sometimes that takes the signature out of the middle. In style 1 swans, the possibilities are ebony, crystal, peach blow, and light emerald. In a smaller swan, there are forest green, gold crystal, amber, and mocha. And those are the colors that the early swans come in. There are some decorated style 1 swans with satin finished crystal that have an orange beak and gray fins. There is a black swan known with an orange beak. This is a style 3 swan. The style 2 swan is only in 3 inches, and it's a transitional swan between the 1 and the 3. The style 2 is 3-inch, again, long-winged, signed, quite a bit of feather detail, but continues to have the uncurved wing and the straight neck. The 3-inch swan, they flared the wings out by hand and curved the neck. It comes in a 3-inch size, a 4.5, a 6.5, an 8.5, 14.5, and a punch bowl with a punch cup. The punch bowl itself was first made with some detail on it, which some people call a style 2 or a transitional style 3. They are signed. We have one in the museum. It's a style 3 looking swan with some detail still on it. The colors of the style 3 swans are forest green, mandarin gold, carmine, milk glass, and the transitional swan comes in moonlight blue with or without a cover with a rose finial. There's one you can see in the museum. It's quite rare. The transitional swans do not have, they have no feather detail, and they still have the unflared wing and the straight neck. And quite a few of those are signed. The moonlight blue ones are signed. And when they started doing this, they took the signature off. Next piece is a turtle planner, and I can't remember the lady's last name, but I do have a record of it. Her name was Mary, and she had gift shops in New York, and this was her mold, and she had Cambridge make it for her in light emerald and amber. They're very, very, very rare. Very rare, and it's amazing that it survived because there's so many, the feet and the tail and the head and all kinds of things to chip. There's only about 3 of those known. The cat and dog bottles probably came out in the near cut period. Most of them were sold to be corked. A few of them, however, were made with a cap, whiskey glass like this. There are 2 sizes. The 22-ounce bottles, cat and dog, come in peach blow, topaz, amber, light emerald. The azurite is very, very rare. Originally, almost all of them were cold painted, eyes, lips, and bow. This is not fired on. This will wear off real easily. You can't wash this guy. This is the larger size. This is the 22-ounce size. There is a confusing dog bottle that was made by New Martinsville. It's a 16-ounce size. It has much less detail, and it's much thicker in the face and shorter than this. That is a little confusing. Some of the birds came out very, very, very early, earlier than we think. And there are a whole bunch of different styles of these birds. The light emerald satin ones, which are obviously older, have a lot more feather detail on them if you get to looking at them, whereas the later ones tend to be very, very little detail on them. The story goes, and this is just a story, the workers felt these hollow ones, they said they were candle snuffers, which I find completely ridiculous, but they still say that. Generally, they are crystal satin, light emerald or light emerald satin. There are some very rare ones in the museum. Here's a topaz one. It's the only one I've ever seen. There is a blue too in the museum, Aurora blue. And there are some opal ones with painting on them. The frog and the squirrel came out later than the birds. And they are generally crystal satin, amber satin, light emerald satin. However, there are some known in stray colors, particularly mulberry, a very weak amethyst. Later on, probably clear up into the late 30s, early 40s, the butterflies came out. They come in crystal satin, peach blow, and peach blow satin. The colored ones are very rare. I call this one the moth, even though it really probably isn't. It's smaller. It has much more detail on it than the larger ones. It has kind of eye things on it, like peacock eyes. Additionally, the frog and the squirrel are made in the same mold. They were made on a knockoff bar together, facing each other. It sure would be fun to find a pair of them still on the knockoff. I'm not going to go into huge depth on the dolphins because there is a wonderful display out there. And Saturday night after the dinner, Zach McCamey, who is a dolphin specialist and is working on a dolphin book, is going to do a great program on dolphins. So I'm not going to say a lot about them other than the first style is the plain base. Second style, they retooled the base into this guy, which is a flattened diamond effect with a hollow cupped bottom. And then they retooled that into the Stratford diamond point base, which is sort of reminiscent of Mount Vernon. This is a flashed example. As you can see in the display out there, the dolphins come in a whole bunch of colors. There are 3 dolphin bowls. This is the rarer one. This is what I call the flat dolphin, where they didn't pull it up. Most of the dolphin bowls, they took this head and pulled it up. This is much rarer. And then in the museum is the full-figured dolphin, which looks a lot like this dolphin up on the sides of it. And you can see it in the museum. It's quite rare. This is later, so I left it down here. Flower frogs, most of the animal flower frogs were later. However, in the 20s came out the two kid, which is a kid holding a baby goat. So thus it's called the two kid. This comes in a wide variety of colors. It comes in amber, mocha, peach blow, light emerald. It does come in ivory, which is quite rare. Comes in moonlight blue, a later color. This was made clear up into the 40s, the two kid. The other flower frogs from this period that are animals are the turtles. And this one predates that. This is of the near cut period. This is what we call the flat top. It's fairly flat on top. This is an early emerald. This predates forest green. The later one, they domed the top of it, so it's domed up. And this one comes in crystal, crown Tuscan, and ebony. A very popular motif for Cambridge in the 30s and 40s was the ram's head. This is the refectory bowl with the ram's heads on the side of it. It is part of the Gadroon or 3500 line. It's a planter of sorts. This comes in a number of colors. It comes in royal blue. It comes in carmine, of all things. Amber, amethyst, gold crystal is quite rare, but there is a gold crystal one known. This also comes in crystal with the Elaine etching on it. This is the later style. I didn't bring an early style. The early style ram's head bowl was primarily made in opaque colors, azurite, helio, jade, ivory. This is a later one where they retooled it into the Gadroon line with the Gadroon 3500 edge on it. This is made in four shapes. This is the banana boat shape. There is a square one and a round one also. This is a later ram's head item. This is a 3500 ram's head covered candy box with a blown lid. It's generally crystal etched. I have seen an amber one, which is a rarity. There are also candlesticks to match these. They are like columns. There's two sizes of them. Wee little tiny ram's heads under the candle cup. And they also made a two light that has the ram's head right in the middle of the two lights. And those are generally etched Elaine or rose point. Cambridge was really big on decorations, and animals were a great place for them to go. One of the first of the scenic etchings is the hunt scene with the horses and the riders on it. The few of these that have showed up, the service plates have all had cobalt enamel on the back. These were made for a worker. And then the luncheon plates have Nanking green enamel on the back of them. As you can see in the museum, there's a wide variety of table pieces in hunt scene. The primary colors for hunt scene were peach blow and light emerald. However, there was a good bit of crystal. There was a smattering of willow blue, which is very rare, and a smattering of ebony. One set of the ebony has showed up, done in gold. And the other kind of a companion etching is the willow scene etching, and you say, well, that's not animal. Well, there's two birds. There's two little tiny birds flying up here over one of the temples. It's on a couple sides. And of course, this is primarily crystal pattern done in blue enamel, Nanking green enamel, and mauve enamel. But as you can see in the museum, there is an occasional piece of peach blow, light emerald, amber, or bluebell in the hunt scene etching. Quite often not filled in with color at all. The blown pieces are particularly hard to find compared to the press table pieces. Another decorate that Cambridge did, the polo scene. This is generally on crystal or ebony. This also comes in an enamel. I've seen crystal with red enamel on it. There is another polo scene. This is the canopy set, and it is a single polo player. This comes in red, black, and Nankin green enamel filled in. It's an etching. And another pattern of canopy set is the equestrian with the horse and rider jumping over the fence. This comes in red, black, Nankin green enamel, and gold encrusted. A number of decorates that they did with animals. 3 canny Scots, swayback Scotties. This is the Pekingese, which is generally, here's looking at you, 2 Pekingese looking at each other. This is just a poor little lone Pekingese. It's real interesting. If you look at this on the back, they've etched right through the mark, and the mark is still on the puppy dog. It's pretty cool. These things are generally crystal. The polo scene does seem to come on colors, but these things are generally. There are a series of pointer dogs. This is a 3500 ashtray with the pointer dog enamel decorate on it. I forgot to bring the Intaglio dog cigarette box. It has a pointer on it. And this is the ebony tray, probably a smoker's tray. And this is a gold encrusted etching of the pointer dog. It's quite rare. This is a cool little hunt scene intaglio ashtray that comes in mocha, light emerald, and peach blow, and ebony. And it actually is the top of a little square cigarette holder. But there's no animal on the bottom of the cigarette holder. It's just plain. And it can be used like this, or it will fit down in like this. And you can stack these on top of each other. Not a great idea, but this is a very, very rare enamel hunt scene that Cambridge did. There are 3 or 4 plates known and 3 goblets known in this pattern. And I pretty much pinned these all down to 1 worker. They're quite rare. A lot of detail. What they called the varsity series of enamels came in the 3034 catalog, and some of them are you can find. The Yale Bulldog you can find. You have to pay for it, but you can find it. It's a white Y for Yale with a white bulldog looking around the Y. The rest of them are kind of a problem. This is a Wisconsin Badger. This is super, super rare Amherst. And Lord Jeffrey was their mascot, and he's riding a rearing horse. It's done in purple enamel. It's the only pattern I've ever seen done in this color. This is a Stanford Cardinal, which you have to use your imagination, but there is a red cardinal in here behind the S. This is a Pit Panther, very, very rare to see. And of course, they did these in the school colors, which is kind of fun. California Bears, this one's findable. It's tough, but it's findable. And Princeton Tiger, it again is findable. Not easy, but the hardest one, of course, would be the Amherst, and then the Badger. This is an interesting glass that they made in several sizes. I've even seen a relish dish with these ducks on it, but the drinking glasses say wise, otherwise, theorize, and harmonize. And it's the duck in different states of sobriety. It's cute. Some of these patterns, like the canny Scots and the ducks, can be had in different color combinations, generally reddish orange and black, but some of them come in black and white, and some of them come in green and white. A later dolphin is the dolphin candlestick and pearl mist. Also comes in crown Tuscan and rarely in royal blue, amber, or forest green. Or carmine. Yeah, great. Not exactly sure when these came out, but they show up first in the 40 catalog. And they are the Rooster Muddler. And they come in crystal, amber, forest green, and royal blue. They're hard to find in color. 1940 catalog was a big year. Quite a few animal things came out with the 40 catalog. The Cambridge bookends. The powder pigeon comes in crystal and crystal satin. They did sell these in pairs. The lion comes in crystal and crystal satin. It comes with or without this hole punched through the leg. It is a fairly solid figurine, as is the powder pigeon. The eagle comes hollow and solid. Don't hope to go out and find one of these. It's not going to happen. They were primarily crystal and crystal satin. This is a very rare crown Tuscan one. Every one of these I've ever heard of started with a worker. The workers like to use these for doorstops. I don't know why. I also have a crown Tuscan and half crown and half crystal one also. The Scotty they seem to play with more than any of them. Production was crystal, crystal satin, and ebony. There is a milk glass one known, and there's a milk glass powder pigeon known. We're not sure they ran them, but they made at least a pair to photograph in the catalog in milk glass. But the Scotty they did play with, there is a half smoke satin, half clear one known, and there is a royal blue, half crystal known, and there I have a crown Tuscan one too that belonged to a worker. As you can see, this one was a hollow one, and the worker filled it full of plaster so it would make a really good doorstop. See that every once in a while. It's not unusual to see that. 1940 was also a big year for eagles, apparently. This is an eagle relish dish, which absolutely copies Heisey Crystallite. And this is a rare eagle ashtray. Same eagle, just applied to the pipe ashtray. And an even rarer, same eagle applied to a candlestick. There's the pristine candlestick, turned upside down, and it's kind of flat in here. And they've applied the eagle to it. These are really rare. This is the Elk's etching, which came primarily on crystal and the ebony done in gold. It's very hard to find. It does show up on a number of things in Cambridge, including an ice bucket and drinking vessels. Another later dolphin. This is the same dolphin. Zach will tell you a lot more about this. It's the same dolphin without the connector taken out, and it has a square, heavy square foot with cutout corners. Comes in amber, royal blue, forest green, crystal, crystal satin, milk glass, crown Tuscan. The crystal and satin and crown Tuscan ones also come with a Beaubochet holder on the top for Beaubochet and prisms. They're pretty hard to find, really, in color. Another item came out late 30s is the dolphin-footed cigarette box, which was part of the seashell line. Has swimming dolphins on the corners for the feet. It comes in generally in ebony, mandarin gold, emerald green, milk glass, crystal, or crown Tuscan. The interesting thing is that the Windsor Blue one, they did not make the bigger box. And in crown Tuscan, they did not make the smaller box, which is very strange because, you know, crown Tuscan was a big seller, so it's funny they didn't make the little one. The little one is generally crystal or blue caprice and is included in the caprice line. This is an unusual pearl mist, one side satin, done in gold stippling. Might have belonged to Mary Martha. Where's Cindy? I don't know where it came from. Mary Martha liked gold trim. She used to send stuff down for gold decorating all the time. This is a one-sided pearl mist satin. Dolphin seafood. Also comes with a candlestick inside. I call it the snail. Some people call them slugs. It's part of the seashell line. These come in forest green, amber, royal blue, amethyst, crown Tuscan, milk glass, and crystal. Here's another. There are 3 sizes of the snail vase, are part of the seashell line. This is a Windsor blue. This is the 5-inch floral center. There is a larger version of this, the 8-inch floral center. And then there is a 7.5-inch vase that has no stem and foot, but it's a snail also. Surprisingly, these do come in amber, forest green, carmine, and amethyst. Rarely, but they do. And that when they are the footed ones, they have a crystal foot generally. I forgot to talk about the bunny box. There are 2 periods of bunny boxes. This is the older that has the fur detail on it. Of course, I have to point out it has my favorite part, the pads of the feet on the bottom, which is pretty cool. This is the larger size. There are 2 sizes. The old ones with the fur detail come in peach blow, crystal, light emerald. Is there anything else in the early one? I don't think so. They come in 2 sizes. This is the larger size. The old style has a lip right here that the mouth fits over, which lends it to a lot of breakage. The big ones are very, very hard to find. They also come in satin finish. There are a couple ebony ones known. There's one peach blow one known with the enamel on it, like the swans. And I know where there's 2 crown Tuscan ones. Ugh. Oh boy, wouldn't that be fun? Then the later bunny has no detail, no fur, and it was made in Tahoe blue, amber, crystal, and I think that's it. And they come shiny or satin finished. The amber shiny is one of the harder ones for some reason or other. It's usually satined. Another snail, sort of, is a part of the seashell line. There's a sugar and creamer, a rose bowl, a card tray, and 2 shapes of bonbons. And these generally come in crystal. The sugar and creamer are known in milk glass. Flower frogs, as far as animals go, tended to be later. The heron did come out in the late 20s. This is the large size heron. There are 2 different herons. One has a lot more detail on it than the other. And the small one never has the detail. And generally, the later ones have ribbing on the base. These are not imperial. Cambridge put this ribbing on here to cover the bubbles and streaks in the bottom of it. And they made the large one and the small one without the detail. This is the seagull. It was only made later. And it does not come with ribbing for some reason or other. And this is the blue jay, which comes both ways. The older one seems to have less thickness here, and the later one has the ribbing on it. And then a very, very rare variation of it is the peg blue jay for the Cambridge Arms, which usually comes in crystal, but these are known in emerald green, mandarin gold, and carmine. Yeah. The flower frogs are always crystal. This is known in moonlight blue. It's quite rare, but it is known in moonlight blue. This is shown in the catalog in milk glass. We have never seen one. But obviously I had to make one to picture it in the catalog. It's never showed up. You heard Mark talking about the variety trays that came out with the 40 catalog. This is the only one that features an animal. This is the lobster serving plate. This was, you put one of these at each plate with the lobster on it. And the butter was to go in here. And they're hard to find. Really cool. A couple later etchings. Early on, they did use the butterfly on perfume bottles, but most of the butterflies are on satin finish, and they are later. There's generally the bud vase, the 6-inch 6004 vase, or the covered candy box in pristine. And generally they're satin finished with gold decorations. Very, very hard etching to find. Probably one of the rarest Cambridge etchings is the flying mallard duck with cattail etching. This comes in crystal and ebony only. It is an ash receiver, and what happens, it's two-piece, and when you pull this open, the ashes go down in the ring. They're super, super rare. They are always just the living daylights chipped out of the inside here. There's no way around it. It's amazing this thing survived. This piece is blown into a mold. And then, of course, this piece is pressed. Very, very rare. Questions?
Lynn, it seems like I've seen some literature on the two kids where it came in a color called champagne. Is that a real color?
It did. We're still not sure it's a Cambridge name, but there is one that people are calling champagne. There's definitely a mocha and an amber at least, if not maybe a Madeira and an amber. The ambers are very fuzzy. The correct color names on them is very, very fuzzy, exactly what is right. And they did make the two kid in a figurine also. The catalog shows it without the flower frog base on it, cut right here as a figurine. No, it's just a figurine. It sits by itself.
Lynn, the flower frogs with the belting, with the summit glass being what I was recognizing as summit glass.
Imperial put the ribbing on the 8.5-inch straight plating and the 10.5-inch Bashful Charlotte. But the animals were done at Cambridge. The ribbing was done at Cambridge. And far as I know, the majority of the Imperial animal frogs that were made were a very strange satin finish. Very, very strange satin finish.
What about the eagle flower frog and the bird on the stump?
I forgot to pack those. The eagle flower frog and the bird on the stump, one of them appears in literature, the other one doesn't. They have a very thin, plain base. They come in peach blow, amber, and light emerald. And they're quite hard to find. The bird on the stump is very hard to find, actually. I forgot to pack those. They're still sitting in the museum, unfortunately. What else did I leave out? Can you think of something? Anybody think of an animal I left out? There are a lot more decorates. If you look in the decorate book, there are a lot more animals. The very rare cow, there's an etching with cows on it. It's very, very rare. We've never seen it.
Lynn, on the small frogs, those were reproduced by Mosser.
They were reproduced by Mosser.
Can you talk a little bit about that, please? What colors they did?
The detail is not as good. I would say if you are looking at a colored frog or squirrel, and you find one that is not a medium amber or a light emerald, I'd be very leery of it. If you see a milk glass one, or a purple one, or a cobalt one, I would be extremely leery of it. The mulberry is a very, very, very weak amethyst. I think you would know it. There is much less detail. The big thing I notice on the Mosser ones is the grinding on the bottom. Cambridge ground them totally flush. And if you look at the mosser ones, they are not ground completely flush on the bottom. That seems to be a dead giveaway. But again, on the colored ones, light emerald and amber, I wouldn't mess with one beyond those colors. I really wouldn't. That's how I found out they're made on the same bar, because they do have the original mold. They do have the mold. Mm-hmm.
On the frog vase, is there any information either being reproduced or available in peach blow?
There is a peach blow one that is not Cambridge. And years ago, I told Frank they were Italian, and then he disproved it. However, I have since found out that there is an Italian one, and it does come in pink. And it is very reminiscent of the Cambridge frog, or the frog Cambridge is very reminiscent of it. I don't know who copied who, but the pink one is Italian. Yeah, it's slightly different. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. As far as there was 2 of them turned up at the NDGA show last year too, and they've had an article in the NDGA newspaper talking about this, that they are different, and the one is Italian. Yep. And it seems to be pink. It's very rough. It has a lot more detail than the Cambridge one, I think. Yeah, but the frog pitcher has no detail. It's really smooth compared to this one. It has a warty look to it. The pitcher is very, very smooth, but it is almost always ebony or forest green. Yep.
Lynn, did I miss the bridgehound?
Oh my gosh, I didn't bring bridgehounds in. Yes, of all things. Yeah, I really missed something. The bridgehound or pencil dog was copied off of a cast iron pencil dog that was made by the Wright Cast Iron Foundry in Emmetsville, Pennsylvania. And it was made 2 different periods. It was made in the Victorian age, and they brought it back out for the 33 World's Fair. And they painted them red, white, or blue enamel, and they have the World's Fair ones have a little hole drilled up through here. And there was a little brass World's Fair tag that could be inserted with a pin and hung from the neck of the dog. And apparently Cambridge picked up on that, and that's when they copied the dog. The dog comes in amber and several shades of amber and mocha, a whole bunch of shades of Crown Tuscan, comes in willow blue. Don't even think about finding a willow blue one. I've seen one with both ears completely broken off of it. It comes in carmine, rarely in amberina, which is just an overfired carmine, milk glass, ebony, amethyst, mulberry, smoke, peach blow, pistachio, light emerald, Tahoe blue. What did I leave out? Amethyst, forest green. I think that's it. Crystal satin. I would not trust that. I would not trust it. The amber one was a giveaway when you went through the plan. I got one when I went through the plan first grade. The emerald green, the forest green, a few of the pale Crown Tuscan, and the amethyst. If you went to the plant and said, we're having an alumni banquet, we need 110 favors, they would give them to them. The other colors, the carmine, the royal blue, and all those pistachio and the pink one, and those were not giveaways. Those were sold. There are a few rare crystal ones that have no hole in them, and I think they're probably the first ones before they put the hole in them. The hole is done with a plunger. It does not have a hole in the mold. They use a plunger to make that hole in there. They have been heavily reproduced by Bennett. There are a number of ways to tell them. One of the easier ways is there is a B in the back crook of the leg. However, there were 250 Crown Tuscan and 250 black made at the beginning, and unfortunately, somebody put labels on the bottom of them. I won't say who, but unfortunately, somebody put labels on the bottom of them. There is another way to tell the Bennett dog. If you're looking at it, the eyes on the Cambridge ones go straight across. They're pointed on the ends and they're oval, but they go straight across. If you're looking at the dog, this eye is on diagonal. And so those first 500 that were made that have labels on the bottom of them, you have to look at the purple and the Crown Tuscan ones because tell me the eye, the difference in it. There's a nice collection of them in the museum if you want to, really want to study. Yes, sir.
I know that the Heather Bloom color has some chemical issues in its manufacturing, and I meant to ask during the convention this afternoon, is that information available on that website? And then now, what you're talking about, there's no Heather Bloom in any of these products that you've described tonight. It probably
it wasn't made very long. It probably didn't lean itself to animals. And Heather Bloom was primarily made in the early 30s. No animals came out in the early 30s.
Okay.
That's probably the reason.
Okay.
Now, you've got to be very careful about sun coloring and all this radiating that's going on. There's a whole booth of radiated glass out at Springfield. And they are doing everything. They're doing bottles and canning jars and Heisey and Cambridge and pattern glass. And it's coming out everything from a pale lavender to a beautiful blue purple. You've got to be really, really careful about Heather Bloom. Is a dichromatic color, and it will exhibit change under different lights. It will exhibit change under different lights.
Let's thank Lynn. Round of applause, Lynn Welker, phenomenal.